And welcome to the Glacially Musical Pouredcast. It is beer, metal, and swearing. I am Nick Cameron of Glacially Musical, and I am joined by Keefe Chashu Pork. How are we doing today?
I tried to hold that face for a whole minute. It was impossible.
I
That's my
try. I
surprise
chose to
face.
ignore. I chose to ignore the face.
How are you, brother?
I am good. I am wearing one of my absolute favorite T-shirts today.
Nice.
I don't eat
Ramen.
it because Maruchan ramen is crap. I eat the good instant ramen. If I'm going to eat poison, I have to import that poison from either South Korea or Tokyo. So it's either Nongshim from Korea or it is Sapporo Ichiban from Tokyo.
If you are poor, like I have been poor in the past, ramen noodles will save your life,
Oh,
including the
ramen noodles are the
25
greatest
cent
thing in the
ones.
world. I just wish the problem is the St. Louis like legitimate ramen scene. It's all fucking tonkotsu pork, and I don't eat pork. I have nothing against it. It's not halal. It's not kosher. I just think
You're
pork
not.
tastes
You're
like
not.
feet.
You did not convert to Islam.
No, I am neither Islamic nor Jewish nor I'm not really anything. But I'm gonna go beer check now if you don't mind. But I'm
Sure. I
sorry.
was gonna. I was gonna shout out my Selena shirt, but go right
I
ahead.
will say I met a man in 1996 or seven claiming to have been her widower. The way he described it was, you know, that woman that was shot, that was my wife. I
I
saw
mean, that,
him. I saw the Selena behind the music 10 years later. Looked like the same dude.
mm,
However, I had started drinking again at that point. So I don't know. I don't know if it was a touring musician funning me or what. He also told me that he had an Ace Frehley Les Paul. So I don't know.
Yikes. I don't love everything Jennifer Lopez does, but she was particularly great in the Selena movie, and I will never forget that because Selena deserved a good movie and she got one.
Have a lot of respect for Jennifer Lopez. I just don't like anything musically she does.
Yeah, it's been a
I'm gonna
while.
beer check today. I've got the
D-
microphone down like it's supposed to be, so
All right.
you should pow.
Do you hear me? Am I loud enough today?
Yes, I didn't even have to mention it. I
All
am
right.
drinking Urban Chestnut Stalipa. I have had this on the podcast about 50 times because it is my favorite beer. We'll continue to have it. In fact, I've got another one for when I kick this one back. I
We
am
we
stressed and I am decompressed.
we stop being snobby about the individual unique beers every week. Hopefully, when I return with a whole slew of banned beers, because I have like literally 40 cans of Deftones different beers in my house, you're not going to shame me for being broke and just drinking the beer I have.
No, it's fine. I actually bought a case of session IPAs at the closeout store by my house that I will take you to when you come here because you have to go to Globe Drugs once in your life. It is the weirdest store you will ever go to. Half the
All
food they
right.
sell is expired, but whatever. I bought a case of Costco brand session IPA for $6. No
Dude,
shame.
that's crazy. I have a beer check, and then I'm gonna make some related music news mentions, and then we'll go on to the vinyl check. What do we do? Beer check, vinyl check, music
Yeah, yeah,
news,
yeah.
BS, and then all right. So I think I am having a beer you had last week as your number two, the Boatswain Double IPA. I have never had this beer. This is a
And it's
n-
Bosun.
boat. I say boatswain.
It's pronounced bosun. You would know that if either your stepfather or father-in-law were a Navy man, which both of mine were, or had you read the Boats of the Glencarrig, which is what inspired the Ahab record, the Boats of the Glencarrig.
That's crazy. I love Ahab. We should maybe even do a run on them. I my dad was an army guy and he's been gone for like 35 of my 49 years. So,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
But anyway, double IPA, India Pale Ale, twin screw steamer. I guess that's another boat reference. And
Probably.
then this is 12 ounces, a tiny can for me, 8.4 ABV. I kind of have a bangover today because I drank, for me, heavily yesterday. I went to a concert and I drank. I pre-gamed at my house, and then I drank before the show, and I almost drank at the show. I was thinking about it, and then I was like, nah, I really can't do like one more beer at this point. But I drank like two very high ABV craft beers, and then I drank like a freaking Peeps. because it was like $4.
And that's honestly why I bought that case of Session IPA. Because, if I have 2 or 3 beers, I'm having 2 or 3 9 or 10% beers.
Right.
So it's like, let me just throw in some Sessioners in there. And the Bosun Double IPA, that is one of my favorites. I get a sixer of that almost every time I go to Trader Joe's.
I'm enjoying this. I'll tell you something about my taste buds. Normally, if I like a beer like immediately, I will drink it again without question. I can almost always tell you some beers take a few sips to like, and if I don't dig it right away, I probably am not gonna repeat buy. But like I immediately first sip, chef's kiss. I would do
Had
this
you never
with.
had that?
I haven't. I said I had never had this beer before. Right
I'm
now,
sorry. I'm distracted by my guns. I mean, look at them.
life. Who's got tickets to the gun show? Nick.
Not me. That's for damn sure.
Vinyl check, Nicholas. Go for yours.
All right. My vinyl check this week is a little pitiful, but there is something to check. I will say, as of tomorrow, I'm starting my next English order. But this week, I got one record.
Nice. Wow.
At the office the other day. I got a couple of their records. At the office a couple of weeks ago, one of my coworkers starts talking about, and if you look at I don't know if you can see how well you can see, but it's in immaculate shape. Haven't even spun it yet. One of my coworkers was talking about the Joni Mitchell song, Paved Down Paradise, Put in a Parking Lot. Oh my. This is a BMG pressing.
Okay.
I don't know that I don't have any BMG pressing.
Bertelsmann, the famous humongoid record conglomerate, they actually for a long time were the foremost producers of classical music in the world. They still might be, or unless it's Deutsche Grammophon, or did they buy Deutsche Grammophon? I don't remember.
So my buddy mentions Paved Down Paradise, Put in a Parking Lot as why he hates Joni
Big
Mitchell.
Yellow Taxi is the song.
Okay, I'm gonna say I like that song. That's a good track, and I'm like, that was on the Kevin Smith soundtrack for Clerks 2. No, it was not. The Talking Heads song.
Oh, okay.
Which is called Nothing But Flowers.
But Flowers. It's the opening song of the movie, also.
Yes, and it's a great song. I never realized it was Talking Heads. I am a fan of Talking Heads. I'm not a mega fan. I have Speaking in Tongues, and I've also got Remain in Light.
I'm a fan. We could do a run on them at some point.
I would tell you that do a run on them.
If you love great songwriting, if you want to talk about the birth of alternative rock in reality, if you want to talk about one of the greatest bassists of all time, you want to talk about Talking Heads.
There's a lot to talk about there.
Word.
What you got for me this week?
I have the very apropos vinyl pick as we begin this series on Thin Lizzy today with a record we will get to in a few weeks. Johnny the Fox concept record bought at my beloved Thrill House Records in the Mission District in San Francisco. It is a cooperative record store where the employees get paid righteously. The money goes back into the store. There's no... As much as I love Amoeba Records and chain stores, and I miss Tower Records fiercely, and I would almost go to Japan just to go to the last Tower Records on Earth, because I'm that dude. I would go to Oregon to the Sticks to go to the last Blockbuster before they close, because that's the kind of dude I am, a loyalist and a lover of things. But Thrill House Records, I love you. Thin Lizzy, we're going to get to that record in a few weeks. I'm super pumped to jam this.
I am going to end up probably at a couple of record stores this weekend. Maybe I look for Black Rose. Maybe I look for something else in that list. I do have a couple of them on my Jailbreak. I've got them on my my wish list, but I just don't have them yet. So
gotcha. I have a lot of stuff.
Probably not even going to try to get them by a mail order for this at this point because it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, don't feel pressured. This isn't about a competition or anything.
I know.
I know you prefer the vinyl.
They were on the wish list anyway. Yes, and I prefer the vinyl because when I do them on vinyl, I'm better because I have to actually listen rather than, okay, let me squeeze this in. I can't get around making the time.
Understood. I have actually never seen a copy of the full record we're going to discuss today. I've never even seen a copy of it in a store. So I don't know if it's out of print. I don't know if it's hard to get or just I haven't looked, but I haven't seen it. Obviously, Jailbreak is the one everyone's gonna know. We'll get into this series in a few, but I did want to mention a couple of interesting musical things that popped up. I don't know if you have a take on it. I would ask you about the Deftones lineup shakeup, but I know you're not a fan, so we won't go there. Uh, MC5 has reformed for a new album, new singles, and an upcoming West Coast tour. What are your thoughts about a 50-year-old band with one original living member coming out with an all-star group of people to basically resuscitate a band?
So it's not MC5. It's what is going to pass for MC5. It's like saying, what do you think about going to see Styx? What do you think about going to see Dennis DeYoung portraying Styx? What do I think about seeing Jefferson Airplane, or was it Starship? I don't remember what the hell they were calling themselves when I've seen them. I've seen them twice. Once it was Starship, and once it was Jefferson Donnelly. No, it was Jefferson Starship, because somebody to love was considered a cover. So yeah, so okay.
Jefferson, I thought you were going to say Jefferson's gondola. We've reduced from from an airplane to a starship to a gondola. That's where we're at.
I would rather see Jefferson's rickshaw.
You might have though.
Yeah,
So I guess
basically.
your take is negatory on this.
My take, and I've seen Foreigner with one member and with no members. Yeah, look, I'm not gonna lie to you and say, "Oh, I'm so high and mighty, I won't go do that," because clearly I will. I've seen all those bands. It's just, if you can do that and pay for your golden years or help put your kid through college, on one hand, I'm happy about that, and good for you. You're going to make some people happy. I will also say that I will never forget the young women I saw at the Foreigner the second time I saw them, go talking about, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing Foreigner. I've waited so long," and I'm like, "There's no one in this band that recorded any of the songs you've heard, so work that out."
But maybe it's more about the music than the people in that band. I don't know. That may be unfair of me.
I don't
But
know. It's any band. I don't. It's kind of like Quiet Riot with Rudy Sarzo as the only member. I
and he
mean,
just came back in, and he
yeah, he just came
literally
back in
just
after Frankie
so
died.
so Frankie's last wish was the band to continue forever with no original members, because even Frankie wasn't an original member, but like Frankie was the steward of the band, right? He
I
was the
disagree
owner.
with that. I still consider Metal Health their beginning.
Okay, I know, but I'm just saying, like,
Okay, fair.
technically speaking,
I
he
know, I
wasn't
know.
in the
You're right.
band.
You're right.
Dubrow was the owner of the band. Dubrow died. Frankie kept it going 10 more years almost till he got too sick. He handpicked Johnny Kelly as his favorite drummer to replace him. I love Alex Grossi. Rudy is a hero of mine. I talked to him once. He's wonderful. Doesn't really matter who the singer is as long as they can carry a tune, honestly. And I don't
Give you
like Jizzy
that.
Pearl. I don't like Jizzy Pearl, but like whatever. I don't hate it. Like, okay, those songs will continue to get played live forever, which is cool. And maybe if Foreigner stops touring, those songs will never be heard again. No one's gonna cover Jukebox Hero and Hot Blooded and I Wanna Know What Love Is. Nobody is gonna resuscitate those songs as huge
I
hits as
want to
they
know
are.
what Love is on the Rock of Ages soundtrack.
I know. It's
Sorry,
not
so
a
it
it's not
still
a
will be
good
heard.
movie or soundtrack or
It was
show
a
or
play
television.
first.
Yeah, it's not good.
Have
It
you
wasn't
seen
good.
it? I've not seen
Yeah,
it.
I wasn't good. I
I
saw it.
meant to see it, and I was really excited about it until I listened to the soundtrack 3 times. 3 times is about as many times as you can listen to that and not hate it.
Yeah, don't.
So,
Anyway, uh,
just saying, that song will still
what
be heard. Just that one.
what else happened today that I wanted to kind of run by your brain, but I'm now drawing a blank. Um,
There was
am I
something I wanted to talk about, and I forgot what it was. So, I mean, I'm
all
helpful.
right? All right. Um, beer check, final check, music news. I did go to a cool show last night. I saw um I saw Dave Hawes, who is kind of a punk slash folk punk guy, as well as Chuck Reagan of Hot Water Music do kind of an unplugged show. There was a great country guy who's also a producer of Dave Hawes, Tim Hogue, who you might really like, or Hodge. Sorry, I'm bad at names. Tim Hodge, and
Same.
a really cool opening punk band from Oakland, sort of like punk slash '80s pop rock, and I love them. And I will get their name right this second because I don't want to miss it because they were a lot of fun and I want people to discover them. The Hot Takes from Oakland, excuse me, and
That's a name.
that is a name. And they were fun and they had like a whole aesthetic and mood about them. Live music's important. I might go see Author and Punisher. Priest is this weekend, and I don't know if I can swing it. I really feel like it's the last Priest tour, the next to last Priest tour ever, and I just don't know if I can swing the ticket. I have this tour covered in another city for Ghost Cult, and I don't try to ever double dip unless someone
I
offers.
I saw Rob Halford open for Iron Maiden on the Brave New World tour,
Oh, nice. So that was Halford's solo album
and it
tour.
was awful.
No.
It was, I mean, it was one of the worst shows I've ever seen.
Holy shit.
He sounded good, but there was no interaction. There was no movement. It was just,
Well, that's what he kind of does. Yeah, he's looking at the teleprompter with
I
the
know,
glasses on.
and but I've seen that, and then I've seen, a video of Judas Priest coming back, and I'm like, wow, you sound great, but you guys look way too old to pull this off, and I don't know that I
Well,
want to
Richie, well,
go.
you got Richie for that. He's very,
I
fun,
know.
young and fun.
I'm more interested right now in, and I haven't even listened, in KK's Priest than I am Judas Priest,
KK's Priest is
because
really good. Has Ripper, so I love that. And
as
I'm
everyone
what
knows, I
yeah,
root for the underdog.
what I really love. Well, see, like, so I am mixed about this because I loved KK his whole career, and then his book is terrible. Not because it's his book is not terrible. His feelings on his history of the band is so overshadowed by his ending that it almost
Um,
blots out everything great that he did. Listen, the
oh,
guy's a
so it's like
legend.
Dave Mustaine's book.
Not as positive as Dave Mustaine's book is.
Oh,
Like,
whoa.
really negative, and he feels really hurt and angry that they won't let him back in. Like they're somehow preventing him from. But he walked away. He retired. They had agreed to retire, and then they changed their mind, and he was like, "I'm
Uh,
out. I'm out." And then he, so like I do like KK. KK's Priest is great, and my hope for KK's Priest is not only will they play the KK's Priest material, which is excellent, that they will play Judas Priest songs, but they will play Judas Priest songs that Ripper did with them because those songs don't get played now by Judas Priest, even though Rob said he would do them, and some of them are bangers. And Ripper's he may be a chucklehead sometimes in the things he says, but he is a phenomenal vocalist, man. Like the dude is incredible.
he was on Bar Rescue.
Was he now?
His bar was on Bar
His
Rescue.
bar in Cleveland that
Yep.
went out of business. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, it did go out of business. I
Yeah,
mean, so even John Taffer couldn't save it.
yeah.
That's
And
depressing.
and by the way, Ripper has a big family. One of his sons is a metal vocalist who can rival Ripper's talent. Look out for that kid.
One of the,
Um,
you bringing up the, them not doing Ripper's tunes. I want to just big shout out and big hand clap to Iron Maiden because Bruce did and still does Blaze's tunes.
he will. He will
Not
do
a
them.
lot of them.
They're not running. They're running out of kind of room to do them now. But like, I would not be
Well, it's been
opposed to
20
those.
years. I mean, the reunion is over 20 years old. So
Yeah. Well, it's still the current era of Maiden is the latest era. You all right there, buddy?
I'm good.
Get a burpee there.
I don't know what it was.
All right then. I have nothing more to talk about, but I like where your head is at on the KK's Priest thing. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on the bands after the bands. That would be a really great topic.
Agreed.
Um,
Agreed. Which is half of the Department of Metal Antiquities.
yeah, basically, which is fine. I don't want to steal the thunder of that wonderful show.
Oh, well, no, we can steal the thunder by doing albums by those bands that we didn't do.
No, I mean, that's fine. I like what that's. Anything else going on you want to rap about or anything?
Nothing really. Just what I do want to say, I am presently reading a book called A Cowboy Song, excuse me,
Hmm.
the authorized biography of Phil Lynott and Thin Lizzy. So I know his name is Lynott because that's
We're
why
not
not? I would
Irish,
never
but
lie to you.
it's Lynott, Linnet.
Yeah.
I've said both over my life. It is apparently Lynott, and people do call him Philo. because his mom was Philomena, and that's where he gets Phil from.
His
But Philo
his
is the
teenage girlfriend referred to her as Phyllis
interesting,
in the book, anyway.
interesting, and
I apologize that I'm not far enough along in the book to be really useful because you know how every rock biography you've got to like read it and it's like eating your broccoli. You know, you got to eat your meat to get your pudding. Can't eat your meat if you don't have the pudding. How can you eat your pudding if you don't? How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? You know what I'm talking about? So I'm still in the meat part. I haven't gotten to the pudding. Like Nick Mason's book, which I'm almost finished with. I got to the pudding, and all of a sudden, I was just like skiing downhill through the book. I am actually at the point now where they are recording the division bell,
nice work.
and
I
I
need
have
to
learned
pick that back
so
up.
much in that book about Pink Floyd that I never knew. Like apparently, they had a meeting with Roger, and everyone but Roger thought they were going to continue as a band together
When was this?
in 1985 or six.
Okay.
But Roger did not think that. Everyone else did.
All right then. Um, yeah. So we're starting Thin Lizzy, and you don't have to apologize because also the goal. So we chose Thin Lizzy. It was my pick to do Thin Lizzy. It was my turn to make a pick, and I picked Thin Lizzy or a Tin Lizzy, which was supposed to be a babe, basically. May not track that well these days in 2022, but that's what it meant. A chick, a
I
cute
thought it was
chick, a Thin
slang
Lizzy.
for a Model A Ford.
Okay,
I thought
I guess I think they meant ladies, but
could have been multiple things.
I instead of reading the book, I watched the documentary that I cannot recommend enough, which is "Songs for While I'm Away," and is the story of the band and the story of Phil's life. And I picked Thin Lizzy, and I'll tell you why. I think Thin Lizzy is a band that is only thought of as a hit band, hits.
Agreed.
Whiskey in the Jar is hugely covered and the most popular cover song by the most popular rock and metal band ever, Metallica. The Boys Are Back in Town was used in Toy Story. Jailbreak is on radio once a day in
You
every
forgot
city in the
about
world.
48 Hours. They had the R&B soul band playing The Boys Are Back in Town in 48 Hours.
Right, 48 Hours, which is a movie only you and I will remember because we're old enough. And
Everyone should see that movie.
yeah, I agree. And other songs that track as hits. And I'm here to say the reason I picked Thin Lizzy is because Thin Lizzy is a band that never got their due quite enough. They never broke in America, which is a tragedy for a variety of reasons. And honestly, the second half of their career in the 70s and early 80s is incredible. These albums are deep, and I would put them on par with Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, and Pink Floyd. Most other people might not, but we're going to find out by the end of this if Nick agrees with my theorem on Thin Lizzy.
I am a casual fan of Thin Lizzy. In as we, you know, we Keefe pointed out his copy of what was that? I forgot the name already.
Johnny the Fox.
Johnny the Fox. His copy of Johnny the Fox that he picked up recently for this series. I have Alive and Dangerous or Live and Dangerous. I forget the exact name that I picked up at a estate resale shop in the mall. It's a little warped, still plays, still tracks, so it's fine. It's a lot warped, but it was $7. I'm not going to complain too much. And you know, I of course I know the Boys Are Back in Town. Of course I know Jailbreak. Of course I know other ones. Emerald is a
Emerald,
big one.
Cowboy
Uh,
song.
yeah, I mean, I know a bunch of their songs, but I've got a bunch of their albums in my iTunes that I've never really sat down and listened to because I don't sit down and listen to digital music to speak of, which is what makes this podcast so hard for me because I have to do that so much. But
Sorry.
what I really like about this podcast and these series is every decade we swap who gets to choose. So I get to choose the next one. But what's nice about us swapping back and forth is sometimes you're going to get a band that I really like and Keefe has to endure and vice versa. Not that I've had to endure much, except for most of Faith No More. Sorry.
I think it was really one album of Faith No More you really hated, and the rest of it, I think, you
No,
actually.
it was two. It was two.
Okay.
It was the last two.
Oh well, I love the last one.
That's fine.
And I actually
So
love the one that we didn't do. but as more than even the other one that you didn't like.
Look, there's
Continue.
nothing wrong with those albums. I just hate them.
Okay,
That's the problem with it. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm sorry. We already discussed that. I'm going to shut up about Faith No More.
all right then. So yeah, Thin Lizzy, man. Here's what we're gonna do just to let the listeners set up their enjoyment and viewing and listening enjoyment. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're listening to a podcast, please like, subscribe, and rate us, especially on Apple, or like and follow on Spotify. These things help immensely, and we appreciate that. I'm
Fifi dropping it down.
dropping the knowledge bombs.
And if you see,
trademark,
thank you, Justin, by the way, because if you see any of our tweets or Facebook posts about this, even if you're not going to listen and you think, fuck those guys, hit retweet anyway.
Fair enough. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna set the stage a little. The first part of this podcast, we're gonna just talk about the early days of Thin Lizzy. We are picking up on album 4 when we do an album proper later in the pod today, later in the episode. And so I'm gonna just gloss over the early years of Thin Lizzy.
If I may, we discussed earlier that when it comes to the digital stuff, I'm not as good when we have to go through larger swaths.
Yeah, and
so I have requested that when it's a band I don't know really well, that we condense a little bit.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Smaller chunks, because especially in the 70s, no band from the 70s has 4 albums. They've got 22.
That's also true, because they used to put
22.
2 or 3 out. They used to put 2 or 3 records out a year that were 6 to 8 songs a record. The records were 28 to 34 minutes each. That was a full record.
I was happy to see this one was only 37, which
they're all pretty. They're pretty short. There are occasions when even their debut has many, like 14 songs. We're not doing that, but 51 years ago was the debut record of Thin Lizzy, self-titled record.
If I may, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. There was one point I wanted to make, and I remembered it now.
Okay.
So we're talking about a band that, and you're going to hear me when we get to the track by track, talking about how they're finding their sound still. On this song, we hear Thin Lizzy. On this song, we hear nascent Thin Lizzy. So we're going to be talking about a band on their 4th album that still is nascent in many parts.
And there's a reason for that, which I'll get into why.
Well, the 60s and 70s were a different time, because a record label knew that there would be a band like Led Zeppelin, like Kiss, like Pink Floyd, like, CCR, that would be their that could make up for all their losses. So they would develop more bands. As time went on, humanity stopped buying as many records, and that's not a new concept. It didn't just start in 1995. It started every decade when middle-class America had less and less buying power. So it became, in the 1990s, sell 350,000 copies or you're off the label, rather than let's bring you along and make you. Imagine if Thin Lizzy had gotten kicked off their label. Imagine if Kiss had gotten kicked off their label, Leonard Skinner, all kinds of bands like that. Sorry, I just wanted to say that. Oh no.